We're judging the world and saying what sucks. We're reviews versus the world.
Yep, that is a thing that was in here.
Not even phased. There were 3 terrible diapers today. Like,
yeah, but what about your kid?
And welcome back, everybody.
Okay, how is anybody so surprised when that happens, though? Like, seriously. The minute he puts the microphone out, you should just assume it's
I
starting
thought he
to
was
record.
still screwing around and trying to get levels.
See, you think that
Seriously.
he's doing it on purpose.
Yeah. He wants to ease
He
into
wants
the
to get the
conversation.
goodies.
Well, apparently the goodies this time are little girls' trousers full of caca.
Congratulations, listeners. I know that's what you wanted to hear about today.
Today, the magic word is caca.
So, guys, it has been quite a while,
Yeah, a bit.
but we've had some things happen. I moved, and that really kind of shook things up.
Yep.
And so now, but then we all went and we saw a certain little movie called Infinity War,
guys
and
have
then
probably
we
never
decided,
seen
you know what, we needed to join the rest of the internet in gathering together to talk about this movie.
Such an original idea. I'm really proud of us for coming up with it.
Yeah.
Sure, nobody
Yeah.
has ever
No,
held a
dude.
podcast to talk about a superhero movie before.
Nah, dude.
I mean, it's a sleeper hit. I don't think that it's going to...
Well, I mean, the
maybe it'd
Marvel
be a
universe
cult.
as a whole, like, nobody knows about it right now.
It's true.
Like,
No.
it's totally on the DL.
Oh, isn't that who the Flash works with?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
I thought so. And I was actually kind of surprised that The Flash was not in this movie. Because, you know, he was the best part of that other movie that he was in, and so...
Okay, let's not talk about that other movie, please. Let's
Nope.
not talk about that other movie.
I did not and will not see that movie. Maybe if I'm, like,
It
tied to a
wasn't that
couch.
bad.
It was not that bad.
It was
It was better than it had a right to be.
Here's the thing: if you can get past what is his name, Jason Momoa, he's so beautiful, he can't act. Okay?
Nope.
If you can get past that, and if you can get past the fact that Gal Gadot also can't act, but she.
Oh, hey.
No. Let me finish. She's a beautiful goddess of beauty and light and wonder. She's not strong.
She's not a strong acting presence.
I love you, Gal Gadot. Don't get me wrong.
Because we
Don't
know that you're
get
listening,
me
damn it.
wrong. She is.
Okay, here's all I will say. I have not seen Justice League.
Okay.
I cannot speak too much to her acting prowess. But half an hour of film on Themyscira in the Wonder Woman movie, I went through puberty again.
Wouldn't we all?
Wow! This is pretty cool! And yeah, there you go.
Last time I went through puberty, I had a kid. Who knew?
Oh, dear.
All right, so
True.
before we start talking about Avengers, let's get off the subject of the DC Extended Universe.
So your
Sorry.
gal's not listening anymore.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
since we've already offended.
I haven't offended anything. She knows she's
I brought
gorgeous.
it up. I'm
She
sorry.
gets by on it. It's
She
fine.
owns mirrors.
But I want to see what you guys have been into lately with everything geeky. And since it's been a while, if you want to reach back a little bit further, feel free. You can go back as far as you'd like. Well, back to our last when we talked to about Last Jedi. Was the last
I
episode,
think that
right?
was.
Yep, that was it.
Oh my gosh.
Now it's on my bathroom, not bathroom, my bedroom floor.
The Last Jedi is on
Yeah.
I was.
I watched
It could be on your bathroom floor if you'd like.
I
No
mean,
judgments
sure,
here. No
sure.
judgments.
It's my room. Elliot
Everybody
and I
has
watched
different
it.
storage places for their house.
We
It's
watch
fine.
it everywhere.
All right, so Nate, what have you been into?
Lately, I'm into these ruffles.
He's eating some delicious
a
cheddar and
well-timed
sour cream
question.
Maybe
ruffles.
Steven would like to go first.
All right, we can start with Steven. We'll go the other way from it.
Sorry.
Yeah, that sounds good. Okay, so the biggest thing that I've been into recently is I've actually started another podcast.
Bum, 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 bum.
Brady is right there.
I know, but Brady's not interested in my other podcast.
But we weren't going to.
I may have started listening to the first episode.
Oh, crap.
Oh,
I also did.
well, that's awkward. So, John and myself and...
Well, some other person named John. You don't know. There's-
Hey, you are your own man. You do not belong body and soul to Reviews versus the World.
This was my first podcast. I feel like I'm
You
like,
also own something to 1D10 the show.
Well, that's like a spin-off of this almost.
Kind of, yeah.
Kind of.
Well, so honestly, kind of is our podcast because it's
I'd
me,
say so.
it's John, and it's also Aldo, who you might remember from earlier episodes of Reviews versus the World.
We've resurrected him like Tupac.
Yeah, it's actually a hologram.
Love it.
The real pain. The recording is not a problem. It's getting all those mirrors set up at the beginning of every session.
Anyway, so this podcast is called the Superhuman Registration Podcast. John, Aldo, and I are basically hosting a Marvel Comics book club. We all have subscriptions to Marvel Unlimited, and we are reading stories from Marvel Unlimited and reviewing them and ranking them in order from best to worst. And it's been really fun. It's really interesting because I think as much as John, Aldo, and I get along, we have very different tastes in comics. And so we have some really interesting discussions, and we've got 2 episodes under our belt so far, and we are getting ready to record our 3rd episode. We've read Infinity Gauntlet, which is very pertinent to the topic that we're discussing today here.
I'm glad we read it too before the movie.
Yeah, seriously.
Kind of to give more context and see little Easter eggs.
Yeah, you definitely get a lot more out of Infinity War if you've read Infinity Gauntlet, and so I do recommend it for people who enjoyed the movie, although there's a bit of a learning curve there, because the Marvel Universe of the comic books in 1991 is very, very different from the Marvel Universe in the movies.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's the biggest thing. Superhuman Registration Podcast is what we are called. We are available on iTunes, so
Yay!
you can find the podcast there if you like what we do here, but you want more comic book content, then that's the place to find it. Outside of that, I think the big thing that I've been involved in, I don't think I've ever brought this up on the podcast, maybe once. I actually play the card game Magic the Gathering.
Me too.
I think
Woo.
you talked about that.
Maybe I have. Magic the Gathering is celebrating its 25th anniversary, and they've had a lot of different events to commemorate it. They had a joke parody set that came out around the time that we stopped recording the podcast that was just super fun. It had mechanics like you would play a creature on the table, and it's a zombie's head in a flying saucer, and the creature would die if you ever took your head off the table. So you're sitting here playing Magic cards with your head on the table the entire time. And so I was playing the game against a friend, and he actually stole the creature. He stole my little flying saucer zombie, so I just picked my head up off the table, and it died.
No.
It was
The
super
head
fun.
ownership didn't transfer to him.
I could get into the mechanics of how the game works. In response to him attempting to steal my creature, I picked my head up off the table so that he didn't have a valid target and his spell fizzled. This is how magic works. But anyway.
That's how magic works.
Yeah, I know. If you played Magic when I first played it, which was when I was probably in 4th grade, now is actually a pretty interesting time to get back into the game, because in honor of the 25th anniversary, they've gone back to the beginning. So the world where the Magic game first took place, they're back there again. And so there are a lot of cards that are really reminiscent of the cards from like 95, when like I say, when I first started playing the game. It's really fun. I played actually a couple of times with this set and spent way too much money on it. It's been a lot of fun to play and get back into this game. I've got a good buddy who is married with kids, and we don't get to talk very often anymore, but having Magic as a game that we both enjoy gives us excuses to hang out and gives us motivation to make time to hang out. So I've been really enjoying getting back into this game as a 30-something-year-old man.
Magic came out when I was in 7th grade, and the nerdy kids in class were like playing it. I'm like, oh, that's so stupid. So, anyways, fast forward to 2015 or 2005, and I'm substitute teaching. And these skids, and these I almost spilt the Coke. It's like spill kids.
Please don't spill the Coke on my laptop.
Okay.
Again.
So anyway, I was substitute teaching for this class, and everybody's work was done. And so I was like, okay, well, you can watch a movie or you can play with your cards. So these kids started playing Magic, and I was like, that's the dumbest thing. I was like, there's probably a reason why people play it. So I went over and they taught me how to play it, and I was like, this is great. And yeah, and then I didn't play it for a while, and then like I played the digital versions. I just don't have money to go out and spend on cards, and I can be spending my money on some other cards.
Yeah, and Magic is not for everyone. I've tried to get my girlfriend to play it with me, and she is a good girlfriend, so she has obliged me. And then we had to do something that she wanted to do, which is watch more Jane the Virgin. I think I talked about that once in the show.
Yeah.
I'm
I
a
love that
fan.
show.
It is so good.
It's so good.
Rogelio de la Vega
Rogelio.
is one of the greatest characters in all of TV.
You
Yeah.
lucked out, sir, because we tried that, my wife and I, when we were dating, and I forget what we got to do that was for me, but I do remember watching a lot of Pride and Prejudice. You know there are 3 versions?
Yes.
Yes.
You know there are more than 3 versions?
Yes.
You know,
Luckily that I've only seen the 3 versions.
You know that I
Have you
like
seen the
Pride and
sixth
Prejudice,
one?
right?
Yeah, well, you were an English major.
There's a Bollywood version.
Haven't
Pride
gotten
and
that
Prejudice
far.
is what that one's called.
We did.
There
and
is-
BBC, and I forget.
There is, of
Yeah,
course,
that's
Pride and Prejudice and Zombies.
Mm-hmm.
I
love
couldn't
that.
sell her on that. For
was
some
fun.
reason, she kind of...
There's not enough
There's
people making out in it. Although nobody really makes out in Pride and Prejudice if you think about it.
They just talk about the possibility of maybe someday holding hands. It was very,
Right.
very uptight kind of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's probably the best summary of what I've been up to, honestly.
and a lot of Stardew Valley.
And a lot of Stardew Valley.
That should never
I've
happen.
noticed how much you've been playing it.
A lot. Like, I have loaned my girlfriend my Switch, in part to get it out of my house so that I could do something other than play Stardew Valley.
How does the game work? Because I know nothing about it. You guys
Okay,
constantly
have you ever
talk about
played
it in the
Harvest
chat.
Moon?
No.
Okay, so the story
Part in my
basically-
brain is like Harvest Moon is Sailor Moon, right? See, that's how lost
So
I am.
the story basically goes in Harvest Moon. Harvest Moon is a lot of different variations, but you take over a farm. You're from the city, and you decide to take over a farm, and it's an RPG. So you can raise animals, you can grow crops, and then you go into the little town where all cute things happen, like they have festivals. You can make friends, and
You can start dating
you can
people.
start dating people.
And you can build automated sprinkler systems.
Yes.
That's important.
That is extremely
You know,
important.
it sounds weird, but if you play it,
It
Give it 10
sounds
hours.
like someone who likes Command and Conquer and someone who liked Farmville had a baby.
It's
Had a
like
terrible, awful baby.
if your favorite part of Warcraft is building buildings and gathering resources, and you hate the combat, you should play Stardew Valley.
I should not play Stardew Valley.
Although there is combat in Stardew
there
Valley.
is. You fight monsters.
You go to
Oh.
the mine and you mine, and there are monsters in the mine.
Okay. I thought it was just like kicking your neighbor across the fence or something.
I mean,
No.
maybe in another.
Stay on your side. Property rights do not extend this far.
You gotta build a hedge to keep them out, like, for good. And
Good fences make for good neighbors.
Hire out the homeless guy to come and guard your place.
There actually is a homeless guy in the game.
Oh, it's great. Anyway, Emily.
So here's the thing. I have been busy with lots of life things. So as far as nerdy, geeky stuff, I don't do a lot other than sit home and watch TV and movies. So I recently acquired a Hulu subscription account, whatever you want to call it. I started watching The Path.
That's the one with
With Jesse from Breaking Bad.
yeah.
Aaron Paul. I love him. Heart him. Anyway, The Path is about a religious movement that's totally not a cult, but it is. And the story goes is that one of the guys, Aaron Paul's character that's in the cult, the religious movement, excuse me, finds out that the leader of the group, who was supposed to be working on some kind of like scriptural thing to get to the next level or the next rung of what's called the ladder.
Yeah.
Because the story is the leader of the cult. They were in Guatemala or someplace and they came across this visionary ladder and he was the only one who could touch it. Everybody else, it burned their hands like it was some kind of really religious experience or anything. And he finds out that the leader has been, he hasn't been working on it. He's been like comatose in a bed for the past like year, and everybody's been lying about it. Everybody, as far as the higher ups in the cult. So he's having this like these hard feelings about it because it's his family that's in the cult and all this stuff. And then we have a couple things that happen that, as you're watching, make you wonder. But is this like real? like, is this true what this cult believes? Because you have things that happen that you're like, nah, this is just a thing to get people's money, whatever. But then things happen and then you're like, but he just float. So it's very confusing and wonderful, and I love it, and I recommend it.
Just if you want
It's
to
a
you
lot
like-
of high praise in a very short breath.
Here's the thing: if you like cult things at all, I'm fascinated by cults. I don't know. I watch a lot of Law and Order Special Victims Unit too, so
Emily, don't join one. Don't.
No. If I'm gonna run one, I know what I'm doing. Anyway,
Yeah, you make a lot more money. It's The Office. Yeah, you make a lot more money as running a cult as opposed to joining a cult.
it's true.
I've been a part of many cults,
Existing-
both
Yeah.
as a leader and a follower.
Sorry, there you go.
There you go.
You have more fun as a follower, but you make more money as a leader.
I finally watched Fargo.
Movie or
I've
Brady
seen
just
the
looked
TV
like
show.
Brady just looked
My
like an
face just
angel.
lit right up.
I think they saw that through the podcast. They could see the
It's all-
vibrance.
Everyone's earpiece is just.
So what did you
glowing.
think?
Chris and I loved it. I was apprehensive about it just because it's one of those things where everybody's like, you should see this show. It's really good. But then people tell me the same thing about some things, and then I go see La La Land, and I'm like, this is boring. So I was apprehensive about it, but we really liked it. We've only seen the first 2 seasons because the 3rd season, as of the time we stopped watching, was not on Hulu. I don't know if it is now or not, but... Also, season 2, Aliens, question mark? Anyway. If you haven't heard Brady talk enough about Fargo, just go back and listen to the other podcasts.
Seriously.
You'll get plenty.
Like anyone.
So I'm toying with the idea of getting into tabletop gaming, like Dungeons and Dragons and that sort of thing.
Sure.
And there's a game that I picked up. I'm really excited to give it a try. It's called Fiasco. The idea
Yeah.
the idea is you basically recreate the plot of the movie Fargo.
Interesting.
Or like the season Fargo. You just
Yeah.
play a bunch of self-interested people who really go to great lengths to get what they want and make just a mess of everything in the process. I'm excited to try it.
Yeah, man. That sounds way fun. I tried watching Bob's Burgers. I wasn't sold.
I'll make you a list.
John is really disappointing. He's going to make me a list.
We'll
Let's
have
see.
like the definitive reviews versus the world viewing list for Bob's Burgers because
Right.
John's got to get both Emily and me sold on it.
And then Curtis and I just started watching The Handmaid's Tale.
Ooh. I have
How
not brought myself.
depressing is that?
Have not brought myself to be able to watch
So-
that yet.
I don't know if I'm just desensitized because of all the Law and Order Special Victims Unit I watch.
That's the one that'll do it.
It's disturbing, but it's not as disturbing as I expected it to be.
Ugh.
Is that a note of disappointment I'm hearing in your
No, no,
voice?
no, no,
like,
no, not at
I
all.
wish it was more disturbing.
No. The fact that it's not as disturbing as I thought it would be means I'm going to keep watching it.
Okay.
It's good. You guys should watch it. There are lots of...
It won the
things that you
Emmy
can-
for Best Drama.
It did. There are lots of things that if you're a political person, you might... I don't know how you'll feel about it, but if you could just be cool, man, and just watch a show, man, you'll be fine. It'll be totes good. I like it. So if you take my advice at all, listeners, hey, Mom, you should watch it. And that's pretty much it. I rewatch all the same shows too all the time. I rewatched all of Scrubs. I rewatched all of Boy Meets World.
Yeah, nice.
I rewatch Kimmy Schmidt probably once every couple months.
Yeah.
So season 4, part 1 is coming May 30th. You should watch it. And at least I knew it was part 1 this time because last time around with Fuller House, I saw the first half of season 3, and it ended on a cliffhanger, and I'm like, WTF? And then the internet told me there was another part coming. So at least I have advance warning. Anyway, I'm done.
So that means that you have exactly 1 day to watch all of Arrested Development Season 5.
Yep.
All right, John.
I made a little list thinking of.
He
because
pulls
I
out his
wasn't sure.
huge file.
I can recommend the Runaways TV show. As a fan of the comic, I think it's a good adaptation. It is different. They've changed the plot. They've changed a couple of roles of the characters, but in essence, I think they got the tone right. I think that they got the characters right in as much as they have of the changes. You know, there are still some differences. So if you are, real strict, like, this is doctrine, you can't even, if they had 16 eyelashes, they better not have any more or less than that in the, don't look at it that way. And people I know who like teen shows and stuff also like it without any reference to it. I didn't warn my wife, so I will warn everyone who hasn't listened to it. The whole premise of the show is the kids find out that their parents are superpowered villains. They find out this because they stumble upon them performing a human sacrifice. I didn't warn my wife. I thought that... I was like, well, I don't want to give it all away. I want her to be intrigued by what's going on. And then she was like, this is awful. I was like, but they're the bad guy, and the kids are going to... And I mean, but... So no going in... adults are bad guys, and they're actually a little bit more interesting in the TV version. They make them more, less just I'm a villain. They're a little more nuanced.
Complex.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm behind on Legion, but Legion is back.
I'm behind on it.
so good.
Yeah. Every time I watch Legion, I
Is
can't.
my girlfriend still on the show?
Who?
Aubrey Plaza is my girlfriend.
Oh yeah.
She's
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And she's still terrific.
I haven't
to the
seen
point that
anything.
I've seen.
The first episode of season 2 has a dance battle between her, Jermaine Clement, and
I'm just
Yeah,
gonna start watching the
Stevens,
show
yeah.
for that. Like,
Yeah,
It's
seriously.
worth it. If you were to watch it on mute, you would not be much more lost than you are watching it with the,
Sure.
it is on Hulu. It's a Hulu.
And oh man, there's stuff going on that I'm just like I don't know what's going on. So like when it's really simple stuff like we're gonna go chase down this guy, I'm like, oh thank goodness, there's a point A, there's a point B, and I know where it's happening.
and then it gets
So
convoluted.
it's great. John Mulaney's new stand-up special.
Oh, it's so
I heard it,
good.
yeah.
Oh
Yes,
my gosh.
Is it awesome?
Oh, it's better than Comeback Kid, which was
Really?
pretty good.
Yeah.
But I liked New in Town and the top part better than Comeback Kid.
Yeah.
But this one, oh my gosh, it is hysterical, and he's like more animated. I think we're gonna see like a lot from him.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
Have you guys watched Oh Hello yet?
No, is it? I don't
It's
know.
so
Yeah.
funny.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it's based on his and Nick Kroll's characters for the Too Much Tuna.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't seen Too Much Tuna, you need to watch Too Much Tuna. But basically, they're playing two old Jewish guys, and just Oh Hello is their like on stage live special as these characters, and it's one of the funniest things that I've seen on Netflix. I highly recommend it.
If
It's
I might
awesome.
interject quickly, if you like Ali Wong's other Netflix special, she has a new one coming in on Sunday. That's all.
Nice.
That popped up. I haven't seen it.
Ali Wong is so funny. She
Yeah.
might be more funny for some people, but I don't love a lot of stand-up comedians because they make the same jokes all the time and it's annoying. I love her. So
The stand-ups. Some of them are
Okay.
like not funny,
But
or
Beth?
they're
That's the other one.
they're funny. Like everyone was funny, but some of them were
Sure.
much funnier, and some of them kind of like ooh, like I didn't just But there were a handful that were just hysterical.
yeah.
DuckTales, guys.
DuckTales.
It's
Woo!
back and it's so good, and my baby
Right.
likes it. And I'm so happy. We watch it together, and she goes, Scrooge, Scrooge, Uncle Scrooge, and it makes me so happy.
Guys, the latest episode has Darkwing Duck.
Yeah,
Yeah?
we started to watch
Darkwing
it.
Duck is my fave.
That's how it opens, and I was so happy with that. I don't think we finished that one, but that, I had a question watching that episode that had never occurred to me in the 20, however many years it's been that they've been around and been characters, maybe even longer. If the Launchpad McQuack, is he a pelican?
No! I mean, he's probably a duck because everybody's ducks, but...
Not everybody.
Wait, who's not a duck?
The billionaire, he's like a hawk or something. The dude who comes in to like kidnap him in that episode is also some kind of
Well, I feel
bird.
like-
The scientist guy.
Yeah, the scientist guys are the accountants are vultures.
Huh. Why
It's
is
a
it called?
bird world.
But it's called Duckburg.
It's called Duckburg because
they're
for
racist.
the most part.
Yeah,
There's
seriously.
also dog people, like generic goofy type people.
Yeah, but oh my gosh, this is really kind of shaking my worldview of
Yeah,
like
I'm
the Duck
kinda-
universe. It's like, what if we in our world lived in a place called White Peopleville?
We do. It's just pronounced Utah.
Can I interject right now?
Oh my god.
Never mind.
Okay.
Interject.
Okay.
Nothing.
And the moment is lost.
That was a lot of build up.
No, well, I was gonna say something like Utah and like the. Never mind.
The moment's gone.
Was it in an
He says
It's gone.
He says they're all white, and he goes because it's Utah. You, what did you just say?
It's pronounced Utah.
It's pronounced Utah.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Anyway, moving on.
White.
White.
Also,
Fight.
I've learned that I have to edit myself because I have a little parrot at my home who sings too. And I've never cursed in front of her, and she doesn't hear that. But she does hear the borderline stuff that little kids say, but I don't want a baby to say, like dang it and crap.
Right.
Yeah.
And a couple of times, my wife or I have said crap in front of her. Like, I forgot about something that I had to do the next day, and so, like, I'm sitting there at my desk working, and then she was in the room, and I go, crap. And then, crap, quack, 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 just repeat that. So I'm driving her the next day somewhere, and she's in the car seat, and she's being cute, and she says, oh, dang it. And I say, don't say that. Daddy said it. Daddy shouldn't have said it. Don't say that. Okay, Daddy. And then she sat there for a minute, and she got this big grin on her face, and she said, quack. And I said, no, that's the same. I said that, and I shouldn't have said it. Now, you don't say it. And then she kind of got crying. I said, what's wrong? Why are you crying? I'm sad about crap.
Welcome to being an adult. We are all sad about crap all the time.
And that's all. I'm sorry. That really struck me funny. I don't want it to be like I'm the first person to ever have kids, but that was just really funny.
I probably was.
The first person to ever have kids?
In this
Ever
room.
in this world,
Yeah,
I was
in
going to
this
say.
room, yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, that's
No,
No.
because Skylar.
Skylar.
Skylar,
Skylar's
that's
older?
right.
Yeah, Skylar. Yeah,
Oh.
Skylar's 8.
Oh,
Oh, cool.
Oh, yeah, that would
Almost 9. So.
certainly be older.
That's awesome. I forgot about that.
This has been Baby Update with Reviews versus the World. It's a very important part of the podcast, and I actually wouldn't want to undercut it at all.
No, me neither. Love
Nate!
I'm sorry about the bottle spilling and
That
me
was
making
my
stupid
fault.
comments. John, you're okay.
I'm sorry.
You're okay, and I'm stupid sometimes and clumsy, and
You're
like a
none of
blonde
those
girl at a
things.
bar.
Oh, jeez.
Okay, so I love board games, and Steve kind of brought it up.
What? This is news.
I love them so much I collect them. I am going to sell a couple, but I won't talk about those. Anyway, I got one recently that is in the same family as Arkham Horror or Eldritch Horror, and it's called Mansion of Madness.
Mm.
And what you do is you have your investigators.
Sure.
And then you tune your tablet or your smartphone on, and it'll tell you where to set things up. And then you'll go and you're like, okay, I'm gonna choose this clue. So you tap on that clue on the tablet, and it interacts with the story. So you're playing like this.
And we are still good, guys. That would be a spill of Nate's drink, but that's okay.
I'm so sorry. Crap.
This commercial break has been brought to you by
Coca-Cola.
California raspberry.
raspberry.
Dang it, I feel like an idiot. Will you edit this out?
I jinxed us, dude. I caused it.
No, you didn't. I'm just. Here.
Don't beat yourself up about it, Brusky.
It's alright.
Some guy overspilled Coke.
Alright, we good.
Okay.
We good.
Okay, so the game's really cool because you are working with the game board, but your technology is telling you what to do, where to go, tell you where the monsters go and everything. It's just really, really cool. And just like Arkham Horror or Eldritch Horror, you can choose the length.
Yeah.
So I haven't even gotten close to beating the first level yet on this one, but it's really cool because it's like, oh, you go through this door, this is what it is, and then you dig through your big cardboard stuff and you put it on, and these playing these fun, these clues here. It's just really, really cool. So that they have different lengths you can play, and they change the settings on different, and then the cards are different every time. So it's random, so you never really play the same game twice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
I love
Which is
that.
awesome.
It's Eldritch Horror?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's exactly like Arkham Horror, except it's a map of the world instead of the town of
The
Arkham.
town.
I haven't
Gotcha.
played a game like that, and it sounds really cool.
Yeah, Mansions of Madness is way fun, and okay, so I have a 7-year-old son. He's gonna be 8 here soon, and he sat down and wanted to play it with me. I was like, oh, he wants to play on his Kindle, he wants to watch TV, And he comes down, he's like, Dad, what game's this? And I tell him, he's like, I want to play it. So, like, I let him, like,
Yeah.
you know, like, touch the places where they go and stuff. It was really fun. But just like those, you can have up to 5 characters, 5 different people playing.
Yeah.
Doing it. But it's really cool because, like, your cards are like, oh, this is where your mansion goes. And all of a sudden, the whole table's, like, covered.
Yeah.
Like that. Anyway, that's been fun. Yeah, that's all I really got. Holy cow. Oh, I know we're going to talk about this. I'll wait for it. We'll talk about it after the break, guys. I'm weird. I'm sorry.
All right.
Word.
And then with me, guys.
What Nintendo games have you been playing for the last 4 months, Mike?
I was gonna say we can go through and I can just go through the messages and be like, guys, guess what? Every time I'm like, oh, I don't even know what that is.
Fine, I was going to talk about how much I love Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze since it's re-release and I've been playing it, but I'm going to go ahead and pass over that since you guys were mocking me.
No, not mocking, just expected.
Setting expectations.
we know you.
for
It's affectionate.
all the wonderful things
It's
you'll
like,
share.
oh,
with us.
Brady.
It's like, oh, Steven hates a thing. Oh, Brady played a video game. It's affectionate. That's affectionate when you guys do that to me, right?
Yes.
Yes.
It always is.
You're not wrong.
So I will talk about PlayStation games then instead, all right? How about that?
fine.
Change
Sounds
of
good.
pace.
Okay, so first of all, I got a PlayStation VR.
No.
Really?
Yeah.
It's about
How much room do you
It's
need
pretty
to dedicate to that to really?
Not much. In fact, on break, if you want, I'll let you play it for a second.
As long as there's no zombie game.
No.
Okay.
But I will tell you about there are a few really awesome games there. The Batman Arkham game is pretty cool. Like, you know, as you grab the cowl and put it on, and, you know, it does make you feel like, I'm Batman.
Yeah.
That's cool. But really, my absolute favorite is a game called Super Hot. And so Super Hot is about the closest that you can ever feel to being an action star. Because what it is each level is kind of like its own little puzzle where it's like, okay, well, how do I take out all of these enemies? And the whole gimmick of the game is that time only moves when you're moving.
Oh.
And so
That's cool.
And so it's really cool because, you know, like you can punch a guy in the knee as he's coming up, you know, duck down, and because it's VR, you actually physically duck down,
Yeah.
punch him in the knee, and then he drops his gun, and while his gun is in the air, you grab it with your other hand, and then, you know, gangster style, shoot 3 other guys, and
It's
so cool. It is so cool.
crazy.
I'll have you guys try it on break if you'd like. And then my other favorite game there is something called Job Simulator.
Okay.
And what Job Simulator is it takes place in a world where all jobs are done by robots. And so, you know, humans just kind of sit around all day and do whatever they want. And so this is a simulator to let humans know what it was like having a job back in the day. And it's run by these robots. And so these robots will give you tasks, and it's hilarious just the way that the robots talk. They'll be like, I need a muffler. And it's great. And plus, you know, it's just very interactive. So, you know, you just grab whatever you want. You know, grab a donut, stick it in the copy machine. Now you have 2 donuts. You look down in your trash, and there's another donut in there that's moldy. You pick it up, you eat it, you throw up. You know, just that sort of thing. It's a lot of fun. And so PSVR, I actually highly recommend it. I got it 2 weeks before they had a price drop to $200, and I feel like an idiot for that. But hey, for $200, it's actually a really great deal. It's a lot of fun. And then also, I've been playing God of War.
Ooh.
And so, here's the thing. Like, the old God of War games I thought were fun for what they are, but Kratos is just such a horrible, horrible character. It's like you take all of the dude bro masculinity in the universe, and you're like, okay, now let's do that, but ancient Greece. Mic drop. No, but I mean it's and so like I love the spectacle of those games, but like Kratos was he's always just been one of the worst characters in video games because he's always just like, look at me. I'm Kratos and I'm angry and that's the one note that I have. And so watch me kill innocents because I have to solve a puzzle. So I'll take this guy and I'll put him in this machine that will crush him because his blood will let me go through this gate. You know, stuff like that. But this new one, it's interesting watching the developer interviews because Corey Barlog, I think is how... Yeah, Barlog, not Balrog, but Barlog.
One time he has to explain that to
Yeah.
gamers. You know.
Right. Like, no.
But, you know, he's saying, well, you know, I've changed since those old games. I'm a dad now. And so this is Kratos as a father and dealing with his past. And it's, you know, he's escaped Greece and he's escaped his old life and he's kind of living in solitude in Norse mythology type lands. So, you know, Scandinavia. And so it's, you know, immediately you have that change of scenery, which is very interesting. But then you also have, he's a father. And the game starts out with you going to chop down a tree. And it's a very special tree. And there's a handprint on it. You don't really understand what's going on at first. And then taking this huge tree back to your house because your wife has died. And her dying wish was that you take her ashes to the top of this mountain. Okay. And so it's just you taking ashes to a mountain. And it's actually very emotional. And you see Kratos struggling with that dude bro past that he has. Yeah. And it's fascinating. The gameplay is really good. It's probably the best game on the PlayStation 4, honestly. Just overall. So I very highly recommend it. Does it unseat Breath of the Wild as my favorite game of the generation? No.
Oh, I have one more. What has a chance of, you know, just watching that game is like...
Not much. Not much. And as a side note, I have gone back and started replaying Breath of the Wild on Master Mode, and that's very, very difficult, but so much fun. You have to really use all of your resources. But anyway, and yeah, it's kind of been it. And so we're going to get into Infinity War, guys. But before we do that, I think that we need a break. Yeah. We need to regroup. We need to prepare ourselves for the emotional onslaught of negativity from Steven.
Aww.
He told me he liked it.
What?
Fooled you.
like I talked about that stupid game, and I was like, oh, Brady's halfway through. I'm like, I remember what I was going to talk about. I'll just let him finish.
Okay, well, what are you going to talk about? You have a second. Go.
Okay, so I got this game for Elliot and me, Elliot's my son, called Drop Mix. And it's by Harmonix. Yeah. And it's this board, and then you have like a yellow, red, blue, green, and then like a mixture. Mm-hmm. And you have a bunch of cards, and like the yellow cards are singing. Like it's just people's voices singing the songs. Like you don't hear any music. And then you put like one on the blue, and all of a sudden the drum beat comes in, and you're like, this is so cool. And then you drop in like a horn section if you want to, or like a like a grueling guitar. So anyways, my favorite mix, because like you can save them, is So Call Me Maybe.
Oh jeez.
By Carly Rae Jepsen, but I turned it into grunge. And it is awesome. So anyways, Elliot and I have been playing that a lot. I need to order new cards because it's like collecting cards.
Yeah.
It was way fun.
That sounds
very cool.
My nephews and nieces.
Oh, good old Harmonix. All right, and with that, we're going to go ahead and we'll take a break. We'll regroup our thoughts and then come back to talk about Infinity War.
Sweet. Woo!
Do we risk it again? Should I take it to the bathroom and try it?
I was gonna say probably. Just
No.
Thank you.
Over a sink?
Gosh, all of these,
I don't
all these things with finding out that people are horrible people, and then it's like, well, crap. No, I can't enjoy that anymore.
Right.
It's like Louie is a genius show. It's one of the best sitcoms of the last 10 years,
His
and
situation
I
is that-
can't do it anymore. I
Well,
just
like it sounded, maybe I don't know all the details, but it sounded more like he put people in a tricky situation where he was being gross.
gross and
And
manipulative.
They couldn't,
and-
yeah, and it was like he was too famous for them to be like, no, that's pretty awful. So it's just too bad that like we have these comedic geniuses who just suck.
But hey, Atlanta is great.
I haven't seen it.
This is America.
I saw that.
So I saw somebody put the song "September" by Earth, Wind and Fire set to the music video. It works really
Oh,
well.
dear.
It's just funny.
Knowing Donald Glover, that probably was intentional.
I mean, yeah, man. Why not?
The man's a genius.
He's very interesting. I get more interested in him, like, on the regular.
But seriously, if you haven't watched Atlanta, you need to watch Atlanta.
Oh my gosh!
This
I
season,
finally did. I'm way behind because I only watched like two episodes, maybe three.
they have an episode this season that's straight up horror.
Thank you.
It's insane.
Yeah. Robbing season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm excited because it was just some of the most well-made storytelling and heartbreaking. Like when he's waiting to get charged in the jail, and there's the like crazy dude who they just like wail on, and it's like, no, but and it just breaks your heart.
Atlanta season 1 is on Hulu, so that's something that you can watch, Emily.
There's a really cool podcast called Atlanta, and they go through trying to solve a murder that happened, and like each episode is them getting closer and closer and closer to them catching the people. It's really cool.
Huh.
Anyway, we're back now.
Woo!
I hear we.
You were talking about murders!
I mean, that's my topic of conversation, apparently.
Speaking of murders, let's talk about Infinity War.
I hate the memes that have started to pop up where
The
people
ones
are.
that they're like,
Apparently, like everyone's done the same tutorial.
Oh, wait. But before we go into spoilers, we're going to talk about a few other things. So, I asked everybody to send me their top 5 MCU films before Infinity War, and John did.
It's because I'm a good person. Because I don't kick puppies for fun. Or whatever else these scallywags get up to on a daily basis. I don't.
I worked.
I worked too.
But I think that in general, our tastes are pretty aligned. I mean, there'll be...
Steven raises an eyebrow, but go on.
This guy. What's he talking
I mean,
about?
there will be some odd ones out, like, I much prefer the first Guardians to the second Guardians, and...
Yeah, you can be wrong. That's fine.
Says the guy who likes Thor.
Thor.
Ragnarok is wonderful.
Setting aside Thor Ragnarok, you watch Thor as
Oh, the
far as
original.
like
Thor 1
the
is
narrative compared to like the mess of the third act of Iron Man and Iron Man 2, and I'm even talking about the Hulk and Captain America was okay, but it felt like they like could have done more cool stuff in it like they did in Cap 2. Thor 1 is head and shoulders above the rest of the pre-Avengers movies.
Sure.
Cap 1, I think it beats it, but...
Well, it's because it was starting out, and it was like the first time you got it. You're like, holy cow, this is so amazing. There's so many possibilities. And now we have tons of that.
Yeah, now we've seen the possibilities.
Now, I think that comic book movies are going to become like what Westerns are to us now.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's so many different ones, and there's tons of them. They have their own special channels, and anyway. Yep.
All right.
I think that way. So, anyway, let's go. Who's going to start first?
Okay.
Brady wants to keep the spoilers out for a minute.
Yeah, so before we get into all of the spoilery stuff, let's talk about just general impressions. So good, bad. I mean, I wanted to bring up where we sit with our overall rankings because I think that we're too close to it right now to put it anywhere in the rankings, but just to give a little bit of perspective. So where do we fall? Where do you guys fall?
Loved it. Saw it twice. I want to see it 10 more times in the theater. Loved it.
Okay.
Loved it.
It's pretty good.
It's good.
It's pretty good. Yeah.
Steven?
What? I can like a thing. It's allowed.
Okay.
He's not incapable of liking things.
Like, do you want me to nitpick it? Because I totally will, but I did like it. Let's
We'll
establish that.
get into
Let's
the nitpicks
establish that.
when we get into spoilers. As far as my thoughts on it, I think that really with what they were going out to do, it feels to me like this is about the best that they could have done with it. Like with where they wanted to go with it. Mm-hmm. There's, I mean, you can nitpick. You can find little things that could be polished out. Maybe little side stories that could have been a little bit better developed. But I think that overall, with what they were trying to accomplish with this movie, and taking a decade of content and then putting a cap on it.
Yeah.
Cap.
Yeah.
But they really did about as well as you possibly could.
I think I would agree with that
Yeah,
sentiment.
absolutely.
I think Infinity War had this impossible task of telling, compelling, complete, satisfying stories about dozens of characters.
Yeah.
And it, instead of doing that, took a different route where it kind of just focused on the events themselves and fed throughout it the story and the motivation of this big bad that we've been hearing about forever, Thanos.
Yeah.
And as a result, they wind up with a story that is very engaging. It's got some really memorable, threatening to be iconic moments.
Oh, yeah.
I fully agree with that. I do not know how they could have done this any better. Again, I've got my nitpicks, things that I would tweak, but the overall structure of this, I think, is very solid, especially given this unprecedented, at least in cinema, model that they've set for themselves.
Mm-hmm. So one thing that I forgot to talk about when we were talking about things that we've been into is I have been playing quite a bit of Fortnite, which, if you don't know what Fortnite is, it's basically the Hunger Games, except for with bright, cartoony, fun characters, and you build things, but you have 100 people that are dropped on an island, and then, last person standing. You die once, you're gone. And they added a mode just this last week where it's a Thanos mode, where you can find the Infinity Gauntlet and turn into Thanos.
Jeez.
And it is awesome. I haven't found the Infinity Gauntlet myself, but even getting killed by Thanos is pretty amazing because I was just in a house and just trying to snipe out people, and then all of a sudden the roof caves in. Thanos just did like a meteor drop into the house, and the house fell in on me, and I died. It was awesome, and and I think that this kind of brings me into where all this comes together. But the Russo brothers are such an amazing find, and they are so passionate. And this whole Thanos and Fortnite thing came about because the Russo brothers love playing Fortnite. And they actually contacted Epic Games and said, hey, we have this weird idea. And when the Russo brothers come and say, hey, we want to give you Marvel to work with.
You want to borrow our glove? Why, yes.
And it's just you have that passion and that direction behind things. And I've said my piece about the DC extended universe before, but I think that passion and that direction is what makes Marvel succeed so much, and you see that in this movie because it is a culmination. It is an event unlike any that we've seen before. in any superhero movie sense.
I think they nailed it because it was a near impossible task. It was the sequel to 8 different character standalone movies, you know, the third big group film that they've done, fourth really when you count, you know, Civil War. I loved seeing it opening night with people who were just as excited as me because the littlest things would make people just cheer. There were more applause breaks in the movie than anything else, or like people would bust up at right moments, like when they cut to the Guardians and Rubber Band Man starts playing, and it just says space. And I was like, oh, because you get so into what's going on with these characters, you forget that, oh yeah, there's also going to be this person in the movie and this person in the movie. So by the time you're really into the, you know, Doctor Strange and Iron Man, then the Guardians of the Galaxy show up, and then you get really excited. And then I can't even tell you how loud it got when Wakanda just came on screen. Oh my gosh. People lost their minds. It was amazing.
Okay, so before we go into spoilers, because we're starting to edge onto that, I mean...
I don't think it's a
trailer.
spoiler.
I avoided the trailers,
It's on
and now
the
I've got back
movie
and
poster.
Yeah,
That's
it's
true.
like on the movie, yeah.
That's true. But just overall, I mean, it's so interesting that we have these 3 movies that I think are in most people's top movies from the MCU in Winter Soldier, and then Civil War, and then Infinity War, all from the Russo brothers. And if you look at the background of the Russo brothers, they came from Arrested Development and Community.
Yeah.
That's not a bad pedigree.
That's not a bad pedigree, but
TV. Yeah.
But you think about how emotionally resonant these movies are, and emotionally mature they feel. Like when it hits you with a gut punch, it hits you hard and better than most of the rest of the MCU. And it's interesting that you have from these comedy people, you have that great gut punch.
Well, at the same time, though, like, comedy is really difficult to do well. And so, one of the things that makes the Marvel movies so successful is the fact that it never quite takes itself too seriously. It's always got time for jokes. It's always got time to poke fun at itself, which at times can get a little bit overboard. They can go overboard with it, but still, like that sense of humor, that spark of humor. I'm going to call it a spark because I think sense of humor is not quite dynamic enough for this. That's one of the things that really sets Marvel apart, and so it isn't that surprising to me that the comedians, the funny guys, are the ones that are really carrying this through. Especially if you start to look at some of the individual actors, like Chris Hemsworth doesn't get enough credit for how funny he is. Everybody just talks about how beautiful his body is, and to their credit, I mean, not to take anything away from Chris Hemsworth's body,
you should have seen Emily's eyes just light up.
That was confirmation.
It's pretty good.
That was some of the Drax being like, it's like a baby, it's like a pirate and an angel had a baby.
I do agree with Steven though. He's so funny.
Yeah, absolutely.
So funny.
And
I'm one of the few people out there that love the new Ghostbusters movie. Absolutely love it. And
I liked
Chris Hemsworth is one of the big
He was
reasons
he
for
was
that.
really funny in it, but between Thor Ragnarok and this movie, holy cow.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Holy
Thor Ragnarok
cow.
has really convinced me that he's
And great action as well. Like great, like you realize, like, oh, he really is a god. Like especially in this movie, like a bit in Thor Ragnarok, but then this movie, kind of the climax of it. Are we there yet? Are we gonna spoil the territory?
All right, so and now we can go into spoilers.
Spider-Man dies.
Oh, he does.
You know who? It'd be easier to say who lives.
Yeah.
That's true.
The original Avengers: Rhodey, Rocket, Nebula. Am I missing anybody?
No.
Maybe Peter
Cap.
Dinklage. Yeah, the original Avengers.
Oh, the original Avengers.
Yeah.
Okay.
6 original Avengers. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, we don't know about Hawkeye.
The General Hawkeye lives.
He wasn't even in the movie.
Yeah.
You don't know that.
Hawkeye is going to save the day. Hawkeye with his bow and arrow.
That picture, was it you that posted that?
What?
Somebody posted something today about, like, it showed the different Marvel movies.
Oh,
and
that
then-
was me, and it was Hawkeye's like, I leave for 5 minutes, and Ant-Man's gone, I'm sure, but Hawkeye's gonna live.
I'm excited
Better.
for Ant-Man and the Wasp.
I think it'll be good. I haven't watched the trailers, but I think it'll be good.
It looks funny.
All right.
So
So
everybody dies.
yes, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit. But first, one of the greatest things about MCU in general are the characters, and just how great those characters are. And I wanted to get your thoughts of who's your favorite character, just by themselves. We'll get into pairings here in a minute, but just like on their own, who's your favorite
In this movie,
in this one?
I wrote down Tony or Thanos, one of the two. Because it's Thanos' movie. But Tony, like, really, maybe I'm just, like, blown away by his, like, suits and stuff.
I mean,
With the nanotechnology now.
Yeah. I did... Oh, Chris is such a jerk. He sent me a picture of Iron Man, like, having dust flown away, and the caption was, I had a dream that I had a son. It was so real. And I was like, why would you do this to me? Why would you do that? That was the most heartbreaking moment of the whole film was Spider-Man. And I love Tom Holland. I think he nails it, and I could have done with, like, a lot more of him. I don't feel like we got too little of him, but I just love Spider-Man, and I think he nails it.
I think I saw somewhere that his little thing right there as he was fading away, that was improvised.
Yeah. I read that too, and that's even more like that blows me away. But yeah, it's Thanos' movie, which is good because he's been sitting for 6 years doing nothing, and yeah.
Well, like, I don't know. I haven't read the Infinity comics, so I don't know. But like, there's so many fun like things to think about. Like, what if, like, because I thought Thanos showed a lot of great emotion and like he.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I think that he truly believes that he's doing the right thing, even though it's wrong.
It's wrong. He doesn't think it's wrong.
He doesn't think it's wrong. I think. Never mind. I won't say it.
No.
speak for it.
Okay, what I think would be awesome, as if Thanos shows all this like death and destruction for people that shouldn't even be murdered or whatever. I think he himself, sorry. I think that he'll destroy the gauntlet himself, except keep the time stone, turn everything back to where everybody was just living and everybody was there, and then smash the time infinity stone.
That would be interesting. That would be a development. I would really enjoy that.
Yeah.
So Thanos is not my favorite character in this movie, but Thanos is one of my favorite Marvel Comics villains. He might be second only to Doctor Doom, who is just the pure distillation of what is supervillain. Doctor Doom is supervillain. Thanos is really dang good.
Yeah.
And part of the reason that I like Thanos so much is because I grew up reading the Infinity War comic, or Infinity Gauntlet is what it was called. And that story ends with Thanos kind of getting off the hook for what he did. And he just like retires to this simple life on a farm, and he just gets to sit and contemplate how close he was to being a god for the rest of all time and how much better off he is not doing that. So
which we get the setting of in this movie.
we do.
But we don't get the same moment of like, well, that didn't work, but I'm still here. You know?
Right, yeah. It doesn't quite have the same impact, although that was a nice nod to the
Yeah.
Infinity Gauntlet comic.
Yeah.
So if Nate's theory panned out, I would 100% be in favor of that.
I think it would be way fun. I love that when main villains get to be good guys at the end of things. Like, I love the chef in Ratatouille. Ratatouille is one of my favorite Pixar movies,
That is
and
my
it's
favorite
so
Pixar movie.
it's so cool. He doesn't like
The critic? You mean Ego?
yeah.
I immediately went to Spider-Man 2, where
Oh, yeah.
Dr. Octopus is bringing the whole thing down. I am not a monster, or
Yeah.
whatever he says. I agree. The best thing you can do with a villain, if you're going to end their story, is give them at least a chance at redemption, whether they take it or not.
Right.
Either
Right.
way, it's going to be compelling.
See, yes, you're right. You are absolutely right. But there's part of me that says, like, no, he killed Spider-Man. He deserves to die.
Yeah,
and he killed the Guardians. Like, he killed.
this is a
killed
fair
Star-Lord.
response.
Time Stone.
So Thanos was just an absolutely amazing character. My personal favorite, though, was Doctor Strange.
Oh, it's great.
Oh,
I like Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah.
and he was
Like-
Doctor Strange.
I enjoy the Doctor
also
Strange
like
movie.
him
I think
normally, but
more
still.
than most people do.
I love that.
But I love just how psychedelic and weird it is, and because I mean, hey, I'm the one who loves Legion and it's really into that. So yeah, of course, weird high concept is kind of my jam, and Doctor Strange was awesome.
So I actually,
Absolutely awesome in this movie.
I actually watched Infinity War with Aldo. And when we got to the scene where Doctor Strange pulls out all the stops and actually starts using his magic on Thanos, Aldo leans over and he's just looking at me because he had seen the movie 3 times at this point, and he wasn't interested in seeing the movie. He wanted to see how I was going to react to Doctor Strange on the screen. And not being a big fan of the Doctor Strange movie, I can now say pretty confidently that a large part of that is because I didn't watch it in the theaters. Because watching that Doctor Strange Thanos fight in the theaters was wild. It was so just visually stunning.
One of the few times that 3D was actually worth it.
Seriously, yeah.
Like some of the mirror dimension stuff when they Rubik's Cube the whole planet,
Yeah.
I thought that he was really great, especially him against Tony. And it was like Doctor Strange is the only one who knows what's going on, and is in real it's. Part of the problem of the Doctor Strange movie is okay, he just got to Camartage and he's already an expert. What's the deal? But this is more believable. This is a dude who knows his role, and in the 2 years between or whatever, it's more believable that
Right.
he's a pro. Also, I just discovered a Benedict Cumberbatch name generator on Tumblr. Because oh my gosh, that makes me laugh every time when it's Benadryl. Cabbage Patch. Brandy Buck Waffle Smack. Butter White Camp McCann.
My friend
Brewery Candlestick.
My friend
Buckingham
posted a
Pumpkin
video
Patch.
getting generated. I'll have to tag you in it.
Muffin Top Battleship. That's not even.
I laughed. That was great.
Bento Box Copper Wire. Snozzlebert Pumpkin Patch. Baseball Mitt Colonist. Okay, I'm just gonna.
This is the rest of the podcast. This is the only thing we're talking about from here
No,
on out.
actually, one of my other favorite things is how to come up with your blues name. I don't know if you've ever done
Oh
that.
yeah.
You pick an ailment, a physical disability, or some kind of distinctive feature, and a fruit, and the last name of a president. So Blind Lemon Washington. that's a solid blues name,
It's not bad.
You can come up with something. My baby left me for a Hessian, and just sing your song.
Emily, who is your favorite character?
So here's okay.
You have seen the.
Yes.
Okay, I was worried there for a second because you were being real quiet. and
Let
I
me
was
preface this. I am so sick of superhero movies. It's not even funny. Okay, I've been done for a long time. That being said, I really like Tom Holland as Spider-Man. He's just fun all the time. And I really liked Thor in this movie. So one of those two probably.
I agree. I've got my grievances with the Spider-Man portrayals in the new movies. I don't actually want to get into it because that's not the point right now. The point is Tom Holland is not one of those grievances.
Right.
Thank goodness. I was about to
He's
have to
so
kill
good.
you.
He's so good. I just love how he's so eager to do the right thing. It gets a lot of stuff about Spider-Man right, even if it doesn't quite follow exactly the way that Spider-Man worked in the comics. Comic book Spider-Man was very much motivated by guilt, and you don't get that with this version of Spider-Man. And not saying that isn't there, it's just that from the outside, you don't see the guilt. And I think that's one of the coolest things about Spider-Man. I'm actually just coming to this realization right now as I'm talking, so bear with me. The thing about Spider-Man that makes him such a compelling character is that he is so torn and he is so conflicted. And he has so many people out there who just don't appreciate what he does. They don't respect him. J. Jonah Jameson, bring me pictures of Spider-Man. He's a threat and a menace.
Which, by the way, if they don't keep J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson,
Why even bother having a
why
character?
even bother?
Yeah.
Yeah. But really, the people who know Spider-Man so people like who work with him, other superheroes, Captain America, the Human Torch, all like Wolverine, all of these characters who team up with him in the comics, they don't see the side of him that's driven by guilt. All they see is the kid who is trying to do the right thing all the time. And that aspect, I don't think any other actor, as much as I love the other actors who have played Spider-Man, I don't think any other actor has captured that quite like Tom Holland.
I totally agree.
It's really great stuff.
I totally
Andrew
agree.
Garfield didn't get a good shake, I don't think. He was a good Spider-Man in a mediocre movie.
Right, yeah.
And then Tobey Maguire, at the time, it was like, whoa, Spider-Man, this
Yeah.
is so great. But he and Kirsten Dunst.
I like Tobey Maguire and Kristen Dunst, and I won't apologize for it.
I totally agree with you, Steven. I agree implicitly.
Yeah, so speaking of being a comic book fan, though, I gotta say that I think my favorite character might have been the little Thanos entourage we got, and in particular, Ebony Maw.
Ebony Maw was cool.
Ebony Maw was crazy good.
That's Squidward, right?
Yeah, that's Squidward.
I have the same thought.
So there's this fairly recent comic book event when they started to realize that Thanos was going to be a big thing in the movies. They started bringing him back in the comics, and there was a comic book event recently called Infinity. Just Infinity, no war, no crusade, no gauntlet, just Infinity. It's not great, but the best thing it does, and the best thing it has going for it, is it has Thanos' entourage, and these are like just these insane religious devotees to Thanos' bizarre, messed up worldview. And you get glimpses of that in the other characters, but Ebony Maw just embodies it.
Yeah.
And he is such an interesting presence in the film because we still haven't yet seen Thanos in action. Like we kind of do. The very beginning, he beats the crap out of the Hulk. Hulk totally gets dwarfed.
That blew me away.
Yeah.
I mean,
That was like the pencil trick in Dark Knight.
Oh my god.
Kind of that
Hulk.
attention grabbing, like,
Hulk.
they're not messing around. I was like, he beat up the Hulk.
He beat up the Hulk so badly that the Hulk refused
Yeah.
to show his face.
Yeah.
for the rest of
I
the
thought
rest
that
of
was
the
that
film.
was a really cool thing to do because then you can save the Hulk for later as like a, like Ace
Yeah.
Hole for later. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, so-
Ebony Maw, he has cool teeth in
He
the
has-
comic book. I think those comics are insanely well drawn. I was flipping through.
Yeah,
them.
they
Maybe
really
you sent
are.
something, but yeah, I need
Gorgeous
to read them
artwork.
again. But maybe
But no, like the way that they, for me, I think the pencil thing was actually having the Ebony Maw. He shows up and he's kind of Thanos' lieutenant. But now it's in a very real sense. It's not, Loki was technically working for Thanos the whole time. It's, no, here's the Ebony Maw, and he is going to take everyone to school and show them how this thing that we call butt whooping is done. And it's impressive, and he winds up getting outsmarted, but not overpowered.
Right.
And it's brilliant.
telekinesis. That's the power. If you get a pick of power,
Oh my
telekinesis.
gosh.
Because you can fly and you can do all that stuff. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
that was cool.
Inception and Doctor Strange. I was like,
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
this is so cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely some crazy good visuals that came about as a result of the action sequences with Ebony Maw.
Yeah.
Yep.
That fight in New York, yeah, I got a sense of seeing the Avengers team up again because we got Spider-Man and we got Doctor Strange and Wong and we got Iron Man all together fighting bad
Wong.
guys, and it was just like, oh, like that same joy from having so many heroes on stage. 'Cause-
Right.
Well, you know what? Let's run with this. Let's talk about our favorite pairings.
Oh.
because we had a lot of all these disparate franchises come together, and when they come together, sometimes they can work, sometimes it can't work. But I think in this case, in this film, they pretty much nail it.
That New York scene, Thor meeting the Guardians was also
Rabbits.
This was awesome.
rabbits. Yeah,
I love how everyone kept on calling Doctor Strange a wizard.
yeah.
Right.
My favorite pairing happened. It takes less than 5 seconds. Winter Soldier and Rocket.
Oh my god! I take back everything I've said. That was the best thing ever of the history of it. Oh my gosh!
I'm gonna get that
I'm
arm.
gonna get that up.
When he picks them up and just spins, and they're both just like unloading. Oh my god!
That's
so
that's
good.
gonna be
That
their
was
team
so
up combo
cool.
move in the video game.
Oh man!
That honestly, because I just loved
So
all of these little
rad.
character moments. It's like you don't really get a lot of character development between them except in a couple of pairings. But what you want to see is just one cool shot,
Yeah.
and that was that was choice. And yeah, admittedly a pretty cool shot. It's
Yeah.
just like, we need to have a conversation with Winter Soldier, with Bucky, about consent. Because he did not ask that raccoon's permission to pick him up.
That rabbit.
No.
I don't think that Rocket minded. I think
He had a good time.
Yeah, he was getting headshots instead of, body and groin shots. Well, yeah.
So going off of Rocket and Thor,
Yeah.
I thought
Thor
was
was
such a great pairing. Both for all the comedic aspects that you got out of it, because you have these two characters who definitely speak very differently than each other.
Yeah.
Right.
And you get a lot of great humor out of that. But also, one of my favorite moments in that whole thing was Thor basically saying that he has nothing left to lose, and then Rocket saying that he has everything to lose. And then at the end, Rocket does.
Oh, you mean like this picture that Chris sent to me? Like, I could lose a lot. And he does!
And then on top of everything else, someone tweeted James Gunn.
Oh!
And asked James Gunn, what does Groot say as he's disappearing?
Oh, that was mean.
As he's dying.
That was mean.
And he's saying "Dad" to Rocket.
That was just mean.
I was gonna say, the great pairings for me, it's just Groot doing different things through puberty. Like, I am Groot.
And all of them are like, whoa! Like in the time, because Guardians 2 is just a few months after Guardians 1 in the timeline, and now we're caught up to where everyone's in the current time. And so all of them have had time, I guess, to learn what all of his I am Groots mean. Because Rocket's been with them long enough, but the rest of them haven't.
Yeah.
So, that was really funny when they were all just like, whoa!
I think it's great that Thor speaks Groot.
Drax
pretending to be invisible.
Dave Bautista gets better and better the more
He
I watch
really
him.
does.
He really does.
Because he was like the one I was like, well, I mean, if he's at least as good as, Rampage Johnson or whatever, who played BA in the A-Team movie, like, that's all we can hope for from a wrestler turned actor, because he's not The Rock. But then he gets better and better and better, and just is, oh my gosh, so funny.
Dave Bautista has just been surprising me in a lot of things. He was
great.
Great in Blade Runner.
Blade Runner, he was really great. He was great in Bond. I mean, he didn't have much to do. He was pretty much just straightforward, like, silent, big, strong villain dude, but, like, he was great.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed. Yeah, they went places and did things. I liked how when you were really caught up in Thanos fighting everyone on Titan, then it goes to Thor. Trying to get his new axe hammer.
And hey, Peter Dinklage.
Stormbreaker.
Yeah, that was. I laughed so hard. I had no idea he was going to be in the movie.
I forgot, and then they were like the dwarf, and I was like, oh, okay, that's what Peter. And then he's huge, and I was like, oh, good. At least it's not like yeah. I liked, and then you go to Wakanda. I really loved the Edinburgh scene. I liked seeing Scarlet Witch and Vision together.
Oh, yes.
It was wonderful, and it was heartbreaking at the end. And
I don't know, guys. It will never not be weird that those two had babies.
I mean,
Did
sure.
In the comics, they did.
No, I know, but did they though?
Oh.
Like, isn't it like maybe they were all just in Scarlet Witch's mind? Like, is that still up in the air, or is it definite that, like, those two...
Oh, do you really want me to get off on a Scarlet Witch tangent?
That's a deep
Now's not the
dive.
time.
But that was another big cheer was, those guys are hosed. They're outnumbered, and they're going to get all beat up in Edinburgh. Then all of a sudden, bam, Captain America! Just like,
Yeah.
with a beard.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Whew.
You like that, Emily?
Oh my gosh.
Everybody
I
liked
can't.
this.
Yeah, I like it.
Here's the thing. You can't look at Chris Evans with any state of hair and be like, he's only okay. You're going to look at him
He's
with
a 6,
any kind.
maybe a 7.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
A
Especially
6 on a scale of 1 to 5.
Yeah,
I'm still blown away that, like, in Civil War, those are his arms pulling the helicopter back.
Yep.
I mean,
I'm still blown away when you think
helicopter, but
he was Johnny Storm.
Right, I think about that and I'm like, oh my god.
though the prank he pulls where he gets the thing to slap himself in the face with a bunch of shaving cream, that's funny every time. And he just kind of runs away silently, going cheering with his arms in the air. What were your favorite pairings, Emily? Sorry, we got off on a muscle tangent.
I think the ones that I
Okay.
like have been brought up already. So
Nate, anybody else?
we can get off on more.
Just the
muscle tangents,
multiple
though.
personalities of Groot.
Oh man, I love that he's seriously
Killed
he's
me.
playing whatever that like old is it a
looks
pocket
like-
football?
No, it was like Space Invaders.
Oh, okay.
Wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like an old Atari sort
Yeah.
of game.
He's like, I think until he like makes the handle, which that was awesome. The handle for Stormbreaker.
Oh
Oh my
yeah.
gosh, yes.
That was really cool. I don't think he does
Yes.
a dang thing until
So
then, right?
here's my question. So he's part of that handle. That handle didn't disappear. So that means
I don't think he's part of the
is
handle.
Still around?
I don't think the handle is considered to be part of the living being that is Groot. Like, unless you hear it say, I am Groot, it's a stick now.
Right.
It's
It's
okay.
not like when they brought him back in Guardians 1 where like it could have been like a bud or something like that. That was just like his arm that he gave up to, and that was like I think probably good and dead wood before like the snap, right? Which it was interesting to me that was like the big climax of the movie, or the climax of the movie was the snap when that was the first thing Thanos does in the comic.
Yeah.
He like weeded out everybody, and then whoever was left came after him.
Right, yeah. That was
And-
an interesting departure, and I liked it.
Yeah.
And I love that you get this minute when after Thor has just shown up and has proven himself to be the most powerful
Oh my God.
hero.
Hulk is like, we're all screwed now!
And he just he goes and he starts just beating on Thanos and drives the axe straight into his chest, and Thanos just looks at him and is like, should have gone for a headshot, snaps his fingers, and they just lost everything.
And he's like, what did you do? What did you do? And he
It's
just takes off. and it's like,
devastating.
and when Bucky goes, oh, the worst was Spider-Man, but like Bucky going. I think
So what's the history of Stormbreaker in the comics?
Stormbreaker makes me very happy. So, Stormbreaker is a hammer that Odin has made for this alien horsey boy named Beta Ray Bill. And Beta Ray Bill is the best. He is, what if Thor was a space horse?
Because I
Isn't his face on the Grandmaster's Tower?
it
I believe
is
so,
the
yes.
Grandmaster's
Yeah.
Tower.
Yeah, Beta Ray Bill is actually one of my newfound favorite characters. He's really this great comic book idea. I love it.
My only touchstone with him is he's in the Planet Hulk animated movie.
Yeah. And that was a change, I think, because it was Silver Surfer in the comic, I want to say.
Yeah, it was Silver Surfer in the comic.
But still, I think they kept like the same, like an odd space hero is involved in this mess.
Yeah.
Yeah, Beta Ray Bill is wild. I love him, and I have my fingers crossed that Stormbreaker means we're gonna get Beta Ray Bill, because as we know, Thor is not the god of hammers. He doesn't need a weapon. So
That was pretty cool with it, though.
I mean, yeah, he's not bad with a weapon.
So as a side note, I've got to say that that the two times in Thor Ragnarok when, oh my gosh, what's it? The Led Zeppelin song? What's
Yeah,
Immigrant Song.
Immigrant song. The two
man.
times that immigrant song is used might be two of my absolute favorite moments in all of the MCU. But
Yeah.
anyway, that's
pretty
that's-
good.
Even in the back of my
that's
head
a-
when I was
that's a
like,
tangent.
this is just manipulating you emotionally because it's Led Zeppelin and it's Thor, two things you love. And I was like,
But as soon as
they're doing it!
as soon as you hear that, dun, 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 dun,
Oh,
dun, dun,
man.
dun,
And it's
dun.
like everything you want. It's like, what do you want to see? I want to see Thor bashing 100,000 demons with his hammer to rock music. You got it! and here's a golden ticket, and you can tour my factory. It was
this is emotional manipulation. I'll allow it.
yeah.
Anyway,
And then, that shot of him, like, all of the guys are, like, piling up on each other, and he's, like, coming down with a bolt of lightning to just own all of them, and then it kicks in again. I was just like, ha 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 ha!
anyway,
that was amazing.
that was a side.
I loved when Thor arrived there. I loved that we got the Spidey sense for the first time in the MCU.
Yeah.
Are we going into least favorite things? Is there anything else we missed? Red Skull. I didn't see that coming.
Oh, wow, yeah.
That was cool.
That was pretty neat.
I expected something would come of that eventually, because in Cap 1 he just kind of vanishes off to who knows where because he touched the space gem, and yeah.
Right.
But I thought that was cool that he was included. It was a little like, ooh.
Yeah.
Anyway, any other favorite scenes before we go into our least favorite aspects?
I am very excited about the after credits scene.
Yeah.
They have a big job to do.
They have a big job to do.
So,
But I
Yeah.
mean, so the very end after credit scene, we're in spoiler territory, so it's your fault. We see Nick Fury and Maria Hill get dusted as a result of Thanos snapping his fingers and killing everyone. And before he goes, Nick Fury pulls out his pager and he pages someone. And then the camera pans over and we see the pager lying abandoned on the concrete, and it brings up this blue, red, and yellow banner, and everybody's like, "Oh man, Superman is coming!"
when you look at her powers,
Well, no, like
Seriously.
this is the amazing thing, because Ms. Marvel was around in Marvel Comics for a long, long time, and about 4 or 5 years ago, I think she finally got promoted to Captain Marvel. I say got promoted; she was already a captain. She's actually a captain in the Air Force. And you look at her power set. She can fly. She is bulletproof. She can shoot laser beams out of her hands, and she's super strong. Like, all she needs is some minty gum, and she is Superman.
Yeah, I know. Kirsten and I talk about that a lot.
so the movie's going to happen. It's interesting that she has Superman powers, and her origin story is kind of like Green Lantern, where like
Yeah, it's
the
very
alien-
similar to Green Lantern. Yeah.
I'm okay with that because it's going to be Jude Law as the one giving. There you go.
I can't.
And Brie Larson is one of the best actresses.
Oh
in
yeah,
Hollywood.
I'm excited to
Bar
see
none.
what she does with this.
I've never been more nervous for a Marvel movie, honestly.
It has a big job to do because it has to sell that last little, like, our only hope is her little symbol there. And if that's our only hope, then, like, we have to believe that she can handle Thanos or whatever happens in Infinity War Part 2, which that was a mistake telling us Infinity War Part 1 and Part 2. They should not have announced there was going to be another Marvel movie. They should have let us sit for 6 months going,
A lot of people didn't even know anyway.
It's
until
true.
Later. That's
Yeah,
why a
but
lot of people were
we're not-
so bereft after leaving the movie, is because
we're
they
not
didn't
people,
know.
though.
Well, when you know way beforehand, they've been saying Avengers 3 is going to be 2 parts, and they all wanted to shoot them back to back.
Right.
And
I
too
think
many.
Yeah, I think they did.
No, they
yeah.
didn't.
Oh.
They're like Chris
Hemsworth?
One of them.
Pratt.
The Chris's.
Chris Pratt, he's doing Jurassic Park or Jurassic World, and he was contracted to do that, and so they couldn't have him be in the Avengers.
At least they didn't, have him have to have a mustache.
Right.
Oh, what a load of crap. What a just big, stinky, just, ugh.
Anyway.
Yeah.
You know what? Speaking of loads of crap, I don't think that we're going to quite have that much, but let's talk about our least favorite aspects. Because-
Steven cracks his knuckles.
Before he
So-
gets into his dissertation.
So, to be contrarian to Steven, while Ebony Maw was cool, I did not like the other...
No, I will
other
actually
Death
give you
Cult
this. I'll actually give you
members.
this. Every time the
People want
lady
to
one,
do-
every
yeah.
time the lady was on the screen, I'm like, Elder Scrolls 6. It is just they looked very video gamey.
Yeah.
I think Ebony Maw pulled it off. The others I wasn't quite as sold on. I'm actually with you on this.
Yeah.
I liked how Hulk took out the big dude.
Yeah.
Like, he couldn't be the Hulk, but he figured out how to do it anyway and burned it.
At least the big dude seemed kind of cool with his, hook weapon thing.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Proxima Midnight was not that great. Like, she was set up to be, like, this strength and this power, but wasn't really. Even though her fight scene was great with when she actually fought against,
Black Widow and
Black
Scarlet Witch.
Widow and Scarlet Witch. And
I always forget the general's name.
Is it Okoye?
Okoye.
Yeah.
Okoye.
She survived and M'Baku survived.
Yeah.
That's what killed
That's
them when they
great.
killed Black Panther. I was like,
Yeah.
no!
You could tell they wrote this
2
before
billion.
February.
Yeah. I was like, I think they would have left him alive. Either that or they want people to have more skin in the game because they're like, they killed Black Panther. We have to see the conclusion and bring him back. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
And while you know, I understand how things worked out and why it was. It also felt like it was kind of like a lot of work for nothing because it was all futile. And so you know, I understand why that is, and you know, the heroes had to be fighting towards something, you know, before Star-Lord screws everything up over and over. First by not shooting Gamora, and then by
Yeah,
Calm
that
down.
was yeah.
Chill out.
Yeah.
It's like when you watch television shows and somebody has a choice, right? The perfectly normal don't do anything choice, but they're like, because they're so emotionally motivated to like get revenge or something stupid, they make the stupid choice. Like for the entire series, it's like I hate it. I can't.
Yeah, you know, but at the same time, somebody else pointed this out. Like, when has Star-Lord ever been governed by rational
No,
thought?
you're totally right.
It's never happened.
his thought to, here I am facing down this being that's about to destroy a planet, and what am I going to do? Dance off. Like that's Star-Lord.
Yeah, it really is.
But this was a pretty big screw up.
Yeah.
Again, somebody else pointed out that by losing control of his emotions and letting his anger over harm to his friends get the best of him, that's how he beat ego.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, it's really easy to be, you know, too hard on this fictional character. But, you know, there's a lot of sense to be made. And especially when you consider that this is not the end of the story. And this actually goes back to Brady's point about this whole endeavor being futile for our heroes. There was a New York Times article that got a lot of flack for complaining about how Infinity War makes no sense unless you've seen all the other movies. And every just response is like, it's a sequel. How did you not get that? But at the same time, I think there is some merit to that criticism, because Infinity War is not a complete story. It doesn't have a beginning. It doesn't have an ending. It's the middle. Like, even Empire Strikes Back has a beginning, middle, and end.
Right.
You don't really have that here. The only way it has that arc at all is if you consider Thanos to be your main character. And even then, I think that's hard to do because Thanos is surrounded by Robert Downey Jr., by Benedict Cumberbatch, by Chris Evans, and all of these other people that we've been following now for 10 years. They do a good job with Thanos, but we're not invested in Thanos the same way we are in Iron Man.
Yeah.
I mean, I got more to say, but let somebody else talk for a minute.
Lupita Nyong'o wasn't in the movie.
No,
No.
that's a...
Does it mean that she's alive? I love the character in Black Panther. I still only saw Black Panther once. I need to just
I
buy
haven't
it.
seen
I need
Yeah.
to also.
Oh, it's so good.
You haven't seen it?
I have it on
No,
video.
I've seen it, but I haven't like binged it a million times. I have never been a fan of Quill and Gamora as a couple.
Yeah.
You know, it was just kind of like, I don't know. Part of me was like, maybe it was just that, you know, I read in the comics and I was like, no, he doesn't. They just work together. They're family. It's not like he keeps trying to go after her, and then finally it kind of they kiss, and it's just, you know, and then Drax is invisible. I just was like, I don't know. And so that's a nitpicky thing, but
I actually don't think this is a nitpick. There's a really fantastic video on YouTube by a video film critic named Lindsay Ellis. She does a feature on Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Is she the blonde girl and
No,
okay,
no.
go on. I hate that girl.
Dark or brown hair, glasses.
Okay.
Her insights in Guardians 2 are just, they're wonderful. And one of the things that she addresses in that review is the criticism that Star-Lord and Gamora never quite hooked up in those movies. And she says, it's not really a criticism. Look at where these people are. Gamora is coming out of a lifetime of abuse at the hands of a literal monster, and now coping with a sister who also experienced that abuse and now shares some resentment towards Gamora for not being there to help her out. And Star-Lord is a literal man-child. He is still stuck in this perpetual adolescence because of all the trauma that he experienced as a kid and all the stuff that he's going through. And so the reason these two are not a couple is because they aren't ready to be a couple. They're not emotionally in that place. And the thing that frustrates me about Infinity War and its placement in the Marvel Universe is that it kind of undercuts that whole thing. Because Star-Lord hasn't changed. He
has not matured.
He's got a slick goatee now, and it's not even that slick. It actually looks pretty bad.
He apparently has put on weight, according to Drax.
Yep, one sandwich away. But like he's not still in a place where he can be in an emotional relationship, and Infinity War kind of throws that whole thing away by having Gamora confess her love to Star-Lord, and it's honestly not been earned yet. And I have a similar complaint, honestly, about Thor's story arc. Because Thor is finally learning to be a king, to be a ruler over people, to not rely so much on his weapons, but understand who he is. He's not the god of hammers. I actually kind of don't like Thor Ragnarok, but "Are you the god of hammers?" is a killer line that nobody will ever take away from that movie.
I don't think you saw Thor Ragnarok.
I've seen it multiple times.
But you say you don't like it.
We'll talk about that later.
It was in my top 5.
It's not mine. But anyway, like all of this great character growth that Thor goes through throughout Thor Ragnarok, it's gone in this movie. And maybe it'll come back, because again, we don't know how this story ends. But I think that's part of the frustration.
It's gone. It's that he's just still dealing with loss. He loses Loki in the first second of the movie.
Okay.
He
that whole scene was great.
Yeah,
it's all right.
I like that. That's how they teed us off. The Hulk gets turned back into Banner. We don't see him again. Loki, you're not sure if he's going to turn on them again. You see that he gives up the Tesseract. You think he's going to just straight up betray Thor, and then he turns out he doesn't. Then he dies. I think he's dead for good. I think that's too bad because Tom Hiddleston is great. But
yes,
that's something I wanted to bring up after Steven's done. Sorry, I jumped in there.
No, you're fine. I've been talking way too much anyway.
No. Do we think that characters who died before the snap are going to come back? Is it going to be a complete backup, or is it only those who were snapped out of existence?
My personal theory, one of them will come back. Gamora. Mm-hmm. Because of the way that she died and how she was killed off in order for Thanos to get access to the Soul Gem. My guess is, you've read Infinity Gauntlet.
That's what
that there's, the Soul Gem's kind of weird. And it's got this sort of bizarre connection with the real world and with logic, as in there isn't much logic in how the Soul Gem works. But anyway, I think the fact that Gamora died in order for Thanos to obtain the Soul Gem means that Gamora's soul is probably in the gem, which gives us a loophole for her coming back. Otherwise, my guess is everybody who died before the snap is dead.
Yeah, I think that some of them, depending on the film franchise, will stay dead if they want to. Emily, you said that you were sick of superhero movies.
Yeah.
But you still enjoyed this one.
Yeah, it was fine.
Okay.
There was no problem.
Something else comes out from Marvel, are you just whatever?
I mean, the only real reason that I went and saw this was out of a sense of obligation, two, because my work paid for it. So.
Those are decent reasons.
I don't hate all these characters. I just feel like
It's healthy to get a different flavor in your mouth from time to time.
Yeah. And I haven't gotten enough of a different flavor of anything in my life right now, so I just need,
There is that Mr. Rogers dodocumentary coming out this summer.
Gosh.
I'm say I watched part of Ken Burns' Baseball before this movie, and that was night and day difference.
Yeah.
It's
Baseball's 20 hours long.
Yeah, it is. It's so good too,
and
but it's completely it really is.
Yeah.
And it's completely different. And then you know what you got to do. You watch Sing Street.
Yeah.
I watch that monthly.
It's been a while since I've watched it. But
watch it tomorrow.
That's another palate cleanser.
So, we've been negative for a little bit. Let's be positive. Let's talk about, just in general, our favorite aspects of this movie. We've been saying in general how much we like little bits and pieces of it, but Like, what do we think really makes it cohesive for us?
I forget what I was going to say because now I just want to say Winter Soldier picking up Rocket and then just. But.
Well, I think that for me, and this is really the strength of the Marvel Cinematic Universe in general, is just how well it balances different emotions and different kind of flavors of film together. And we have in this movie something that has to take these totally different types of movies and bring them together cohesively. And you still see those influences of those different movies, of those different individual movies, all brought together successfully in this one.
Right.
You have Guardians with their very Guardians feel. You have Thor with a very Thor feel. You have Doctor Strange with a very Doctor Strange feel. And somehow it all actually works together.
I like that we got to see them put up against each other because you get to see how much of a screw-up Star-Lord is in comparison to Iron Man and to Doctor Strange when he's just like, wait, you're from Earth? No, I'm from Missouri. And he's like, what master do you serve?
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, you get to see that, he's just a screw-up, so I hope that when he comes back. Because I think my theory, when we're talking about the Infinity Stones, I think that all the big heroes are hiding. Gamora's gonna get them all to team up in the Soul Stone.
It's possible.
And in the comics, Nebula, when Thanos gets super super powerful, he kind of leaves his body, and she just grabs the gauntlet and takes over. And then they recruit Thanos to kind of undo what she did and get everything back to status quo. So I'm wondering if she's going to have a similar role to play. Probably she'll die in the effort, where she's going to be, critical to getting the gauntlet or whatever. I'm guessing
it's interesting because the movies have these echoes of the plot events that happen in the comics
without being tied to them.
Exactly, because Nebula's following very similar story beats to her course that I know from the comic books, but it's not 100%.
Yeah.
And
shouldn't be.
And it shouldn't be. It's a really, these are solid adaptations. They're not direct copies. They're not replications of these comic book stories, but they're really solid echoes of them. I love it.
I like that they get the typically what happens is they'll get the characters right. They sometimes will do the origin just like it is, which I'm done with origin movies.
Absolutely.
I don't need another. If I see another Batman origin, I do not need to know.
That's one of my favorite things about Spider-Man: Homecoming is that it wasn't an origin movie.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite things about Black Panther because Black Panther was not an origin movie.
Yeah.
Black Panther wasn't barely a superhero movie; it was a spy movie that also had some palace intrigue. I'm okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Black Panther. My theory about Black Panther is that the main character is not T'Challa. It's Wakanda. Wakanda is the main character.
Yeah.
Forever. People lost their minds in the theater. It was fantastic. It was just, I'm glad those movies came out so close together.
Yeah, seriously.
I had no expectations for Black Panther. It blew me away. Sorry.
Oh, no, you were talking so. My parents like comic book movies, but they don't see everyone that goes out, that it comes out or whatever. But my dad and I went and saw Black Panther, and I was just giddy, getting in the car and driving home, and my dad was like, that movie was awesome. And I was like, Dad never says that about any movie. It's usually, that was pretty good. I don't know. I'm going to go to bed.
I think that's the biggest thing that brings Infinity War down is that it came out so close to Black Panther.
Yeah.
Personally, my opinion, I think Infinity War suffers in comparison. Black Panther is just so dang good.
Because Infinity War, then taking it back to you, it's the first part of...
Exactly, yeah. And it's not a complete story. Once it's complete, we'll come back and revisit this, certainly.
Yeah.
Can we just talk about how much Marvel has been nailing villains lately? After they've gotten so much flack for having weak villains.
Loki was their only good villain for the longest time, and then all of a sudden...
Until Wilson Fisk.
Yeah, Kingpin.
Yeah,
and Purple Man.
But then again, even that's in its own weird little cloistered off section of the Marvel universe.
And it's gotten bad, so...
Yeah, that's what I hear.
Yeah.
But in recent, I'm a big fan of Ego and the way that he plays thematically into what's going on in that story. And then you've got Hela in Thor Ragnarok.
And Grandmaster, don't forget Grandmaster.
Yeah. Is he the villain or is he the star?
He's a clown. He's Jeff Goldblum doing Jeff Gold, and I love it.
That is Jeff Goldblumiest.
Love it. I watched a 4-minute video of compilations of just Jeff Goldblum's
Making noises. Oh,
it's so
I've seen
good.
that.
It's
I've
just
seen that.
4.5 minutes. And it's like I remember all those moments so vividly from Independence Day. I think I would watch Kurt Russell do anything.
Yeah.
I would watch Kate Blanchett do anything.
Yep.
And so,
And at this point, I will now watch Michael B. Jordan do anything.
oh man,
You need to see
And
Creed.
Except for
really
Fantastic
awesome.
Four. We
Yeah.
don't need to see that.
I'll watch
ever
that
again.
for him.
I mean,
I won't watch it for anything else.
I had high hopes for that, and then never saw it.
Which one?
The new Fantastic Four, the newest.
Yeah,
Fantastic
it did worse than the other ones did.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Because that's the thing about Warmonger. It's like, or Killmonger. It's like, he kind of has a point. That's what makes a good villain.
Yeah.
Yep. And then Thanos is.
Yeah.
I would say. I mean, I love Killmonger, but I think that Thanos is stronger.
There's I have a frustration with Thanos. And this is a nitpick. Because again, Thanos in this movie made me want to go see Deadpool 2. And I hate Deadpool, but I want to see Josh Brolin.
I love Cable.
Yeah,
so
I'm interested
Yeah.
in Cable, and I hate Deadpool, and Josh Brolin killed it. So I kind of want to see... Anyway, this is not a complaint about the actor or even the writers. It's a complaint about the portrayal of Thanos, because I don't think this version of Thanos quite works for me. Because you have someone who is clearly intelligent and is capable of caring for other living beings.
Right.
Give them absolute power and tell them that there aren't enough resources to go around. Why doesn't he just snap his fingers and make more resources? The reason...
Isn't that still finite?
It doesn't have to be. It's called the Infinity Gauntlet,
true.
you goober.
He would not. He would not. I thought about this. Here's my answer. He would not be Thanos. If he did that, he would not be Thanos.
Exactly. But that's kind of my point. See, one of the main differences between movie Thanos and comic book Thanos is literally in love with the physical embodiment of the concept of death. Mm-hmm. He's fascinated with death.
Lady
He
Grim Reaper.
adores death. Movie Thanos doesn't have that aspect to his character. He wants to kill off half the population in order to save life. And I feel like that disconnect in the motivation kind of brings him down a little bit. Mm-hmm. And for me, that actually means that Killmonger goes over the top. That's the only reason I bring it up. Because that means Thanos is now the third best villain instead of the second best villain, and whatever. He's still great.
I think you have a long history with the comic.
And the character in particular.
Yeah. And so you can't see one without having all the backstory.
I don't know.
I think
That
it
is
works.
100% fair. And again, it's a nitpick. Thanos in the movie still works. That needs to be clear.
I was worried about the effects.
I don't know that he was as strong for me as Steppenwolf was. And
We said we were done with that garbage.
oh, sorry. I couldn't even finish that sentence. Anyway.
Yeah. Oh, dear.
All right, well, you know what?
I want to talk about one good thing, though.
Okay.
No. We were talking a bit about stuff that brings the whole movie together. The when Thanos snaps his fingers, the soundtrack dies. It just cuts out, and all we get is the sound effects of the people dissolving into dust. And so the weight of that moment is so strong, and it's such a despair-filled moment that this happened once the end credits finished and it popped up with the message, Thanos will return. I yelled, "Screw you, Marvel." Yes, the movie screen.
Yes.
That happened.
That went through my head. I didn't yell because I was one in the third that was clapping because I was like, they did it! I didn't think they had the guts to do it, and they did it! They killed everybody! And I was heartbroken, but most of the theater was like, what? And this is the same people who were cheering at all the big moments, you know?
You know who I feel bad for?
Blown away.
All those kids who went to see Infinity War because of how much they like Spider-Man. Anyway, I had to get that out there.
Emily, are you okay?
Here's the thing.
We need your voice.
If you take one look at Wikipedia, you know that Tom Holland is signed on for not only the next Avengers movie, but a Spider-Man sequel.
And that's the problem.
So
That's the problem.
so many of my friends left the theater and they were like, I'm feeling so heavy. I gotta process this. And it's like, guys, he's not actually gonna be dead forever.
Yeah.
Like,
That's
no,
movie coming out in a year.
I believe 90% of the people that died are gonna come back. Like,
Right.
Yeah, no, you're right.
No.
So
you know what I mean?
what-
So I'm not affected at all because I'm like, he's back, it's fine, whatever.
It's kind of
Bye,
like going
guys.
into Black Panther going, I know he's going to be in Avengers in like 2 months.
Yeah, and even if he wasn't, he sure is going to be now because his movie made $1 billion.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
But like, okay,
So you know what? We're getting into it a little bit. Let's talk about our theories. Like, where does it go from here? And you know, John brought up a great one, but
They really have to nail Captain Marvel.
they have to.
And the directors that are involved in it, I have no idea, good or bad, but all they've done are like small independent films that they've written and directed together. I have faith in Kevin Feige. That's the best meme that I've seen is you have Batman, you have Superman, who have been around since God was a boy. And you know, how do you not... Yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
what's so funny.
How do you not just make billions of dollars off of these characters? And Justice League and Batman v Superman just like, But then you look at Kevin Feige, and the meme I've seen is from Iron Man 1. Kevin Feige built this! Look, they didn't have X-Men. They didn't have the Fantastic Four. They didn't have Spider-Man. Kevin Feige built this franchise in a cave with a box of scraps! Because Iron Man... Steven, tell him, Iron Man was C-list.
Iron Man was kind of a...
Yeah.
He was at a low point in the comics.
And
And Civil War just
Thor?
happened and he was the worst.
Thor?
Thor's kind of great.
No, Thor is... He's my favorite. But... Like, at the time, I was like, they're going to make a Thor movie?
Well,
they're
yeah,
they're gonna
Thor
make a
movie.
Guardians of the Galaxy movie.
Yeah.
Yes,
That was the one, like, once they had that and Ant-Man, I was like, well, they can do anything.
Yeah, they really can.
You know, and I'm glad that...
They can have a trailer for a movie where you have a giant ant playing the drums, and we are all in.
I can watch the trailers for new movies. But... It just blows me away. That meme's hilarious. My theory, somehow the Soul Stone will come into it. Chris had a really, like, horrifying thing that maybe they'll do it. There's 6 Infinity Stones, and there's 6 original Avengers.
That was Curtis's theory, kind
He
of.
said maybe to fix everything, they have to, what does he say, have to hold one and assemble, thereby creating an Avenger-powered Infinity Gauntlet, and then they all die.
Yep.
Which Chris Evans, I'm pretty sure, is going to die. And
I'm
the thing that I heard is that maybe the next one is going to be... Because we didn't get a lot of Cap in this movie.
Mm.
And I feel like with a little bit more of his character, that moment when he just grabs the gauntlet and is going after Thanos, a really cool moment.
Man.
And you're like, yeah, Cap, get him. I mean, there is no way you win this fight, but yeah, Cap, get him, you know? I think that if we had more moments with that moment would have been bigger. I think maybe we get a bit, like, as much of Tony as we got in this movie, kind of seeing his nightmares come to life. If this is the situation he feared, this is exactly what he was hoping that would not happen. We get Cap in the next movie kind of as our go-to, like, main Avenger. I'm hoping. I don't care what they do, because I have all faith in the world with them. But, yeah, he was like, Tony gets the Mind Stone, Cap gets the Soul Stone, Hawkeye gets the Space Stone, Thor. Wait, no, Thor, maybe he should have the Space Stone. Widow, her symbol is red, so Reality Stone. Banner, Time Stone, because green, obviously. It makes perfect sense! And then he just sent a bunch of memes of conspiracy theories. I forget what I was going to say just now. Hold on, it's coming back to me.
It's not coming back to me now. Ever heard that song?
You talking about Celine Dion?
It's gone
Yeah.
forever.
With
When you touch me like this.
No.
I'll have to do my legit Celine impression for you someday.
Okay.
the next movie has 3 main jobs as I see it, and 2 of them are for sure going to happen.
It's still the Russo brothers, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So first, it actually has to give us a Tony Cap reconciliation moment because we have not had
We've
that
not
yet.
done
That's
it yet.
true. They
That
weren't even on the
has to
same.
happen. They never had any screen time together.
Which is good because how do you come back from
That.
like he?
How do you come back from that? And I'm worried that they're going to take the easy way out and have it happen like while Cap is dying.
Or while Bucky is still dead?
I hope it happens while Bucky is still dead, actually.
Yeah.
I actually kind of do, because I think there's a lot to unpack there. But anyway, that's one thing. The second thing is they have to explain what Doctor Strange meant when he said this is the only way, when he gives the stone to Thanos.
Yeah.
And like those are almost for sure going to happen. The third thing that it has to do is it has to justify where Captain Marvel has been, not just during the events of Infinity War, but during the rest of everything else.
Because her movie's set in the 90s.
Right.
Yeah.
So, like hypothetically, she was around during the New York attack in Avengers 1. She was around when Nick Fury was on the run in Winter Soldier. So where has she been? That has to happen. That has to be justified.
The other
And
thing-
that's the thing that I'm not sure they're going to pull off, and I'm nervous about that.
Well, Ronan is one of the characters in her movie. So if she's been out in space doing who knows what, why
Fighting
didn't
Kree.
she? If she has a relationship with Ronan, why didn't she
Wait.
fight?
Lee Pace is going to be in this movie.
Yeah.
My excitement just spiked.
Do
Oh
you
my
love
gosh,
Lee
you guys.
Pace?
The
Do
pie
you
maker
love Lee
himself.
Pace?
I love Lee
I
Pace.
Who
love
doesn't
Lee
love
Pace.
Lee Pace?
Lee
There are
Pace is
people
lovely.
that are
People who have
wrong.
not
You
met
need
Lee
to watch
Pace
*Halt
or-
and Catch Fire*.
I love lovely Lee Pace.
Me too. Anyway,
He's good in Lincoln.
He-
too. He's a bad guy in Lincoln.
he's good at everything.
He's the pie maker. He will always be the pie maker.
Oh my
love,
gosh.
love that show so much.
Yeah.
Such a good show. I don't know.
And of course, you know, the other thing that the movie has to do is it has to have a restoration
Yes.
of what was lost.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Black Panther's not gone.
No.
Spider-Man's not gone.
No.
The Guardians of the Galaxy are gonna be fine.
yeah.
So
I think Loki's gone.
I think
Thanks.
Loki
I
might
think
be
Loki's
gone.
gone.
I think Loki might be gone, and that's a shame because you know as
He was a
we
great
said,
character.
Tom
Yeah.
Hiddleston's Loki. I think might have the best character arc of any of the characters in the
Did
MCU.
a lot of that in
And they did a
Thor
lot of
1.
that in Thor Ragnarok too, which is the best of the Thor movies.
Right.
Ah, it's me. Ah, it's like, look, it's a snake. Ah.
Get help.
Oh, another favorite moment.
I'm not taking it.
A subtle thing that destroyed me in most of the theater too. When Star-Lord asks Spider-Man if Footloose is still the greatest.
Oh my
movie.
god!
So look, Chris Pratt sometimes, maybe it's just because Star-Lord like screws up so badly, but sometimes I was like, I don't know, it seems like he's out of his league. The look that Chris Pratt gives him, just this like, it's a unique like confused like, it's confused. It's a how dare you. It's a what in the world. It's so well done that I'm like, oh, just all the love. Yes, so good. But
Yeah.
like the look that he gives Spider-Man is just a riot.
Yep.
I love the fact that Spider-Man got another moment of, hey, you remember that really old movie?
Really old movie, Aliens.
Aliens?
I think they could have
Alien.
changed that up to make it not the exact same joke again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I agree with that.
but I don't know how.
still
I'd have to sit and think about okay, what's a funnier way to say that? But it was still funny that like yeah.
I saw this movie on late night TV when all the old people are watching TV. I don't know. There's
Straight Science Zero 3000?
Just
We
needs
studied,
another test.
we studied the classics in my film class.
Yeah.
There's this old Ridley Scott
old
movie.
campy science fiction movie called Aliens.
Scriptwriters, if you're listening.
Yeah, we're all available.
Marcus and McFeely.
We know that we lost Gal Gadot at the beginning of this podcast.
We can get her
but
back.
We still have you.
She loves me. Don't even worry about
She
it.
loves Emily. Emily, hire Emily for Wonder Woman 3.
I'm in.
I
I'm in. I'm in.
All right. So, any final thoughts on this movie?
Hawkeye will save the day.
It was a
Captain
bit, man.
Marvel, man. I hope it's good.
What I would
But
like you.
first we have to have a fun heist with Ant-Man and the Wasp. And
Yeah.
Which every scene with Michael Pena is great, but like thinking about I haven't watched Ant-Man again recently. I don't know if it's gonna hold up as much, you know, because it suffers from the villain having the same powers as the hero but being evil. Like that's what kind of sets Iron Man 1, like that third act is just.
I'm always up for a good heist.
Yeah.
But then that's the thing, good heist movie and Evangeline Lilly. Yeah.
Oh, and Evangeline Lilly looks like she's going to be especially amazing in this new one.
Always a fan.
All right, so we all enjoyed it, including Steven.
Yes, I did enjoy it. It is a good movie.
All right, and that will actually go ahead and do it for us tonight. It's getting late.
We do have one thing to announce, though. In the middle of recording this podcast, it was announced.
This made me gasp as I looked over and saw it.
Yes.
And
NBC has picked up Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah! Woo!
So there you go.
I'll take that, Fox.
It wasn't even like on the third day it was resurrected. It was like the third hour.
Seriously, I feel like, okay.
That's the power of Lin-Manuel Miranda and Mark Hamill going, what?
No, it's serious. Like right now, my Twitter feed is full of like people liking Sean Astin talking about how happy he is that this show got renewed.
Yeah.
I should maybe watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
It's so funny.
It is so
never
cool.
watched
And
it.
it's
No, I
like
have not
every
seen
character. Every character is funny in their own
Once
individual
again,
ways.
Hulu.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's a great show. So funny. And yeah, watch it from the beginning.
Michael Schur is one of my favorite showrunners of all time. He was involved in the original Office. If you remember, he actually played Mose in the original in the Office.
Does anybody
weird
remember
character.
when Pam and Jim go to Shrewd Farms?
Yeah.
They're in the car, and Mo's just.
That's such
by.
a weird
Oh my
thing.
gosh.
That's when someone says Mose, that's the first thing I think
Oh,
of.
yeah.
That's my favorite.
I love when he reads some Harry Potter in bed.
He's rocking himself.
Oh, so good. But anyway, Michael Schur did that. Then he went on and made Parks and Recreation. And then he went on and made Brooklyn Nine-Nine. And then he went on and made The Good Place. And those four are all in my...
Fight Netflix and Hulu to get it, but yeah, you're all.
Yeah, those four are probably... they're all definitely in my top 10 sitcoms of all time. If not even almost being all of them in my top 5.
Just pushed Fringe and MASH right out of your top 5.
I love MASH.
My wife likes it. I can't.
I think
like
until
all
you
of
had
those.
to have watched it growing
And
up
I
all the
didn't,
time.
so that's where I'm at.
Yeah, it's what I like to call the Wrath of Khan effect, where if you didn't grow up with it, it just does
Doesn't
not
pan
work.
out. Yeah.
That's fair.
But yay! Brooklyn Nine-Nine is saved, and so is Spider-Man and all of those characters who died.
Yeah.
Woo!
Indeed.